So the third skill that we will learn in this regard is converting grams of reactant to grams of product. There is no way that we do this conversion directly because what we have from the balance equation is a mole to mole ratio, not a gram to gram ratio. So we will combine the molar calculation using the molar mass of reactant to get grams of reactant to moles of reactant, then use the mole to mole ratio from the equation to find mole product, and then use the molar mass of the product to convert moles of product to grams of product. So we're going to combine two different skills that we learned previously to be able to convert grams reactant to grams product. So basically doing this type of calculation is going to be using the two steps that we did for mole to mole conversion using the balance equation and the mole to mole ratio to calculate number of moles of one reactant from the other or a product from a reactant. But before we do this calculation, we will have a step of converting grams of reactants to mole reactant. And after we do this calculation, we will have a step to convert moles of the product to grams of the product. So if we have a reaction of hydrogen with oxygen to make water, and we want to find out how many grams of water would form if 26 grams of hydrogen are completely consumed. So the first step is going to be converting grams of oxygen to moles of oxygen. 26.0 grams of oxygen, we need to convert them from grams oxygen to moles oxygen, and that is basically the molar mass of oxygen. So 1 mole of the oxygen molecules is going to be 32 grams of oxygen. So it's 26.0 divided by 32, which is going to give us number of moles of oxygen that we started the reaction with, which is 0.8125 moles of oxygen. Second step is balancing the equation. So we have oxygen with hydrogen to make water. Hydrogen is already balanced, oxygen is not. We need 2 here to balance the oxygen number of atoms, which is going to unbalance the hydrogen, so we need to rebalance it again. We have 4 hydrogen on the right hand side, 2 on the left hand side, which means we need 2 here. So that here is going to give us the correct mole to mole ratio between the species that we can use to convert moles of oxygen to moles of water. So we have 0.8125 moles of oxygen, and we want to find out moles of water. So we will use the mole to mole ratio between oxygen and water. Mole oxygen per moles of water is basically 1 mole of oxygen is going to produce 2 moles of water. So the number of moles of water that will form is going to be twice as much as that number of moles of oxygen. So multiply this times 2. That gives us 1.625 moles of water. And then the last step is going to be going from moles of water to grams of water. It's 1.625 moles of water times the molar mass of water. 1 mole water weighs 18.01 grams of water. So moles will cancel out with moles and we'd be left with grams. So we should obtain 29.2662 grams of water. We need to track the number of sig figs. We have 3 here, which means we have to stop at 3 sig figs in this calculation. And again, stop at 3 sig figs at this calculation. So our final answer should be 3 sig figs, which will make this 29.3 grams of water. In other words, completely consuming 26 grams of oxygen should produce 29.3 grams of water.